Director Marshall?
Here.
Director Slater-Carter?
Present.
Director Loman?
Here.
Director Harvey is not present.
Director Harvey will attend closed session by teleconference, but is not available to attend the open session.
Okay. There is no president's statement. Do we have oral comments from the audience? Seeing none, we will move on to public hearing. Review and possible action concerning resolution overruling protests and confirming reports on sewer service charges, delinquent sewer service charges, delinquent refuse collection charges, and delinquent water charges for fiscal year 2019-20.
Thank you, Catherine. So this is a standard item that we have up every year. It's so that the Health and Safety Code requires that for us, in order for the sewer service charge to be placed in a property tax roll, we must hold a public hearing. We are proposing here to set the sewer service charge rate at $21.07. We will confirm that with the next public hearing that's coming up right now, setting it into the master fee schedule. What we're also doing is we're providing for collection of the delinquent water service and garbage collection charges under the tax roll. And so we went through the regular notification process. So in short, we recommend to open the public hearing, allow pertinent public testimony, close the public hearing, and adopt the resolution of the Montara Water and Sanitary District overruling protests and confirming reports on the sewer service charges for fiscal year 1920 and delinquent sewer service, refuse collection, and water service charges for fiscal year 1819, certifying list of lots and parcels of land and corresponding charges against said lots and parcels, and directing transmittal of said certified list and charges to county controller for entry on the current assessment roll.
I was perfectly willing to read that, but...
So, and what I forgot to say is...
You did so well.
This document is here on file. Anyone can see it as stated in the public notices and take a look inside and see what their sewer service charge is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to hand this over to the board and state the recommendation to adopt the resolution.
Discussion? Do I see no comment from the...
Is this a public hearing item?
Yes.
This is a public hearing. Let's open the public hearing. I don't see anybody. I have no speaker slips. I see nobody willing to speak at this
Move to
point.
close the public hearing.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Let's move on to the board.
I'd like to move adoption of the resolution next in order as read.
I second.
Discussion?
No.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions, motion carries. Item 2, review and possible action concerning adoption of revised master fee schedule.
Thank you, Catherine. This is also a standard item. Every year in June, we set new rates for the coming fiscal year starting July 1. And this year, I just mentioned, we're increasing the sewer service charge to $21.07. We're also adjusting all connection charges, other related fees. They are increased by 3.71%, and that is in accordance with the California Construction Cost Index. So everything that's construction related is increased by 3.71%. Everything that is staff work-based is increased by 4.1%. So this is application fees, miscellaneous fees, and that is in accordance with the SFBA All Urban Consumers Price Index. So also the recommendation to open the public hearing, consider relevant public testimony, close the public hearing, and adopt, now this is an ordinance of the Montara Water and Sanitary District restating and amending the master fee schedule.
Okay, let's open the public hearing. Do we have anyone from the audience?
Well, I'll talk if you want.
No. We want to get done quickly tonight.
Good.
Unless you have something relevant to say.
I think that the district needs more money. I can't say that I know exactly how much more it needs, but I think you're doing the right thing. It's just a question of, analyzing it further.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All the discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Did the motion mention the adoption of the ordinance?
No, that was the motion.
That was the motion to close the.
Okay. All right, so.
So now we are going to discuss the review and possible action concerning the adoption of the ordinance for the revised master fee schedule.
Can I see the binder?
This one.
Yeah.
Discussion at the board.
Can I just make one quick comment? I've had some credit card issues where they've been hacked and I canceled credit cards, and with the garbage collection, is there any way we can ask for some kind of an alert? You know, if your bill doesn't get paid for a month, get an email from Recology or other people saying, oh, by the way, you missed a payment. It goes like 3 months before I'm on auto pay for everything, and then I realize, hey, something went wrong, and then I've got to scramble and reset up. It just seems like we should be able to have some kind of alert thing. Oh, by the way.
Well, we'll check with Recology.
I mean, just.
If you're not paying with us, you should get a letter from us.
Like I got the letter saying I'm $386 over, which is many months.
Over, you mean short?
Yeah, I haven't paid.
Yes.
And it's on auto pay, so I assume everything's working great. And it's going to go on the tax rolls and all this. You could have some earlier notification. Oh, by the way, something's wrong on your account. Call us or something. Just.
Okay.
I don't look to make sure every single bill is paid on auto pay.
I'll check with the account specialist. It seems like it should be a simple thing.
Yeah.
So I'll get back to you on that.
Great, thanks.
And as every year, if we receive delinquent charges, now the tax roll will actually be transferred to the Sanitary County in July. So last day is July 30. That's when we confirm that everything is set. So if we should receive delinquent charges before then, we may have a chance to revise that document.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to have, to be able to tell people when they are over or overdue on their payments.
Well, again, I mean, if
Just a little
payments
thing.
are missing, you are notified.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
On the on this table, the column header pre.water and water. Know the difference between those two?
I have to take a look at it. I think it's the water, the consumption. Is that the?
I expected them to do. I'm wondering if it's not like previous year water consumption for the 4 months. That's my guess.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yes. Take a look at it.
I was trying to get a correlation though, because it's like, see, things getting the minimum charge, whether it's 9 or 36, and that seems like I don't quite understand. So I'm not sure it's actually scaled against the numbers I'm seeing.
Well, if you see 9, the minimum sewer service charge is 16. So you might see a water consumption charge of 9, but It
Sure.
is calculated as
But
16.
the one right below it is 36, so I don't think I'm comparing what I think I'm comparing. It's okay, we can figure it out later.
Okay.
I'm just curious. No, I think we need to do this. It's, we've done a lot especially through the hard years, to really constrain spending, but it's time.
It is.
If we don't spend it, if we don't fix it now, it only costs more to fix more later.
And what we're doing is a measured approach to this instead of trying to do it all at once.
That's it. Okay, do we have a motion for
Sure, I
the,
move adoption of the ordinance next in order, ordinance of the Montara Water and Sanitary District restating and amending the master fee schedule.
I second.
all those in favor, say aye.
Roll call.
Whoops, roll call vote, sorry.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Marshall,
Aye.
Director Slater Carter,
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Was the public hearing on the overruling protests also a roll call vote? The item
It was
one?
a resolution.
Item 1, the resolution.
That was.
Should should that have required a roll call?
Yes.
On the
Okay.
The resolution for the placement of the sewer service charges on the tax roll?
Yeah, the resolution should, because
Oh, because
the
Jim's...
teleconference, yeah.
Oh,
But Jim's
okay.
not here.
That's why.
No, but Jim's not here, he's not on the call, so we don't have to do by roll call vote until he arrives.
That's a question.
So, Dave, Jim is not here. Is there still a roll call vote required? He's not attending,
No,
but...
no, but I'd recommend it because it's a resolution in any event, but
Okay.
it's a little higher
All
degree.
right.
Well, shall we
Why don't we
retake
just
that vote?
retake that vote? You made the motion and Eric seconded it.
So this was the motion.
Am I correct, Tracy?
for the sewer rates.
For the resolution overruling protests.
Director Boyd made the motion, Director Marshall.
Okay. Okay, so in order to do it for roll call, let's, all those in favor say, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay. Director
All have
Boyd,
it.
Aye.
Director Marshall,
Aye.
Director Slater Carter,
Aye,
Director Loman.
Yes.
good. Now we are into old business. Item 1, review and possible action concerning approval of the water and sewer budgets and capital improvement plans.
Okay, so we presented the draft budget on May 2nd, May 23rd, and June 6th. We met with the Finance Committee twice and reviewed the budget. Finance Committee suggested changes at the first meeting. For the second meeting, there were some changes suggested also, but they were minor. Ultimately, I think I can state that the Finance Committee recommends approval of the budget at this time. I'm not going to take away the highlights as I did last time. I'm going to leave this up for Peter to present the numbers, a brief overview over the numbers. But what I want to say is that the budget contains, we talked about this already, the sewer service charge increase. That's Prop 218 based and already authorized. The board also authorized a water rate study that will be implemented as soon as possible, and the resulting rates will be approved in a separate process that's coming up. And I also need to mention that a 4.01% cost of living increase that's index based for from April to April is built into the budget for all, and that's for all non-exempt employees. So ultimately, the staff recommendation will be to authorize a 4.01 cost of living increase for all non-exempt employees and adopt the resolution of the Montara Water and Sanitary District approving the budget for the fiscal year 18-19. I'd like Peter to just give us a brief overview, mainly over the cash flow of water, sewer and water.
Thank you. Just to step back a little bit, the process really for this fiscal year 1920 budget really begins in about February, March timeframe when we do our mid-year budget to actual review and just see how we're tracking so far through the fiscal year at the halfway point. At that point, we then produce a pro forma budget, which really doesn't capture anything. We don't have enough data to extrapolate for the full fiscal year at that point. So it's really just a matter of mid-year. Pro forma, and then we let some more data accumulate until when we come back in April, we have 9 months worth of data, and then from there we extrapolate the last 3 months, and there's a lot of back and forth between myself and the GM, and he's letting me know as far as what's on the horizon, what the district needs are, things that he would like to see, and we start modeling at that point. And then we get into meetings with the finance committee and said this year, before I get too much further, thank you guys for being as involved as you were and making yourself available to meet with Clemens and I. Going through that process, identifying what the COLA increases are going to be for the labor and benefits portion, and then really guiding operations to quantify and identify what is out there and what our expectations are, and try to think not necessarily on a worst case scenario, but really what we anticipate to occur. From that point, we really do our best to sewer rates. Those are all, but already set with Prop 218. Water is a bit more challenging because, like I said, we cannot accumulate, or we can't ascertain what consumption is going to be. So with 3% rate increase that we were gonna hope to put in place, and then, okay, well, we're not quite sure, and then we really need to look at a rate study going forward, and that's currently what's in place as far as, well, we expect consumption to go up, and we are hoping to have the new rate in place relatively soon to get to the revenue points that we are expecting, or that we hope to make this all work. But even if it all were to happen, we see through the cash flow for both water and sewer that we are both negative. And it's just kind of the way it is at this point. As I said, operations are what they are. We're pretty bare bones in that regard, but the capital projects that are slated to happen, that have been slated to happen for a number of years, they're ready to happen. So getting those put in place, listening to our engineers, and putting the plan in place for the 5 years and seeing what can be juggled. This is what we have in front of you, is the fiscal year 1920 operations and CIP budget.
Okay, do we have comments from the audience? Seeing no slips here and no hands waving. Let's bring it back to the board. I have a question too, but let's start with the board.
Oh. Just pointing out that the staff report says to approve the budget for the year 1819, but of course it's the budget for the year 1920. That's typo that's carried over. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, gentlemen, questions?
I stated mine in the last one, so. Very done.
I want to know why we think water consumption will be going up for a community that typically prides itself on having our water reused.
Well, let me chime in a little bit. It simply has to do with that we have seen a slight increase in connections, and that offsets somewhat the conservation that we've seen in recent years. We've also had, we're coming out of a very severe drought situation with the wettest year on record for California, not for this area. I want to be very specific. This area has barely received we're approaching 100%, but we're not over our usual rainfalls. So it seems like a lot of water was coming down, but it's just a perception issue. But with that, we probably will see a lot more outdoor water usage this year. That's what we're expecting.
Okay.
Clemens would probably say that far better than I would have, but I was going to point to the connections as well, along with, in the budget, we have a $34,000 increase from where we're projecting this fiscal year end to end. So without having the rate, the increased rate in place at this point, I would have to point to consumption to make up that. It's a small difference, but something.
Okay. Okay, any more questions, guys? Seeing none, let's review and possible action. So let's approve the budget. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Rick, second by Scott. Does this need to be roll call? Let's just do it. Okay, roll call, please.
Director Boyd?
Aye.
Director Marshall?
Aye.
Director Slater-Carter?
Aye.
Director Loman?
Yes.
Okay, wow, we're making record speed here. Moving into new business.
Pro tip, don't ever mention that.
Quick, knock on wood. Review and possible action concerning interfund loan from sewer to water.
Yes, so at the last meeting, we actually had a discussion about this and asked the board for authorization already to prepare this resolution that essentially is allowing us to utilize $500,000 from the sewer reserves for water projects. And this has to do with the cash flow issues that Peter pointed out. We're hoping to increase the rate very soon and offset some of this. Dave prepared a resolution of the Montara Water and Sanitary District approving and authorizing conditional interfund transfer of $500,000 for construction and acquisition of certain water system capital improvements. What it does is it allows us to borrow this money. It's supposed to be repaid within 10 years as soon as the board determines that we can repay it.
Good. Let me see, do I see, I have no speaker slips, seeing no hands waving. Bring it back to the board, gentlemen.
Seems reasonable.
I mean, if the resource, it's the cheapest loan we can get.
Yep.
Yep, I agree.
All right, do we have a motion to
So moved.
Scott,
Second.
Eric? Let's do a roll call vote.
Director Boyd?
Aye.
Director Marshall?
Aye.
Director Slater-Carter?
Aye.
Director Loman?
Yes.
Okay, item 2, under new business, review and possible action concerning district's proposed tracer study.
Before I hand this over to Tanya, who's our water engineer and has a lot more insight on this, I'm basically going to say very briefly that I asked Tanya to go this route of a tracer study. The question for us is really, there's some requirements from the state or a lot of pressure from the state that essentially is asking for the addition of a tank or for at the Alta Vista plant as a clear well for the Alta Vista treatment plant, or for a repurposing of the Alta Vista Tank 1 as a clear well, which would take away from our fire flow. So this is really not a route that we want to go operationally. That's why I asked to look into the possibility of a tracer study. Tanya, maybe explain
And
a little more.
a new tank, separate from the ones we already have, would be 750,000?
No, it would, I mean, it would be a clear well. We would have to, can you speak to how much a clear well for the Alta Vista?
About 50,000 gallons, so it's still going to be substantially hundreds of
Hundreds of
thousands.
thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
Maybe not 750, but a few hundred.
Okay, good.
So really what the general manager just described is a study that we're proposing to avoid capital improvements, unnecessary capital improvements.
Unnecessary.
We strongly believe that they are unnecessary, and we can't guarantee that the study will prove it, but we very much hopeful and confident that it will. The state has been kind of after us ever since we have developed the groundwater source at the Alta Vista site. And it's the question of mixing groundwater, chlorinated groundwater with chlorinated surface water. And what they do is they assign the lowest mixing factor unless you can to the tank, unless we can prove and the only proof that the mixing is actually happening in much better rate than they think it is on paper, then which we believe it is. The way the staff decided to configure this tank and its inlet, the new tank, and how it's connected with the old tank, and where the water enters the tanks, actually is very much conducive to mixing. So we trust that this study will prove that. Then we will be off the hook of building this additional clear well, which we believe that we don't need, and the state will be off our backs. We have been fighting this for years, actually, so this is not something we were taking lightly. It is, there's a risk that the results will be inconclusive, but we hope that's not the case. We have put everything in place in this proposal to make sure it's a sure win for the district. There's equipment that needs to be purchased, some not purchased, leased. Some of it is expensive, it's $1,400 a day. And chemicals, the tracer chemical is fluoride, so it's safe food grade chemical. So that we will be injecting into the water to prove that the tank is fully mixed and the contact time for the Alta Vista treatment plant is meeting the requirements. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So the tracer is fluoride. We already have naturally occurring fluoride.
Right.
I presume you're looking at a level change, is that
Yes.
yeah.
And how long does it typically take for the actual testing to happen? Is it over what's the period?
Well, we think it will take a couple of weeks, but not to prep,
Yeah.
to set up, to do it, and finish. We're not gonna run the equipment for 2 weeks. It's gonna be less than that. So still kind of figuring this out. But we're basing. Let me just make sure what we're basing on the equipment costs. We're looking for a week of rental.
And that makes sense from.
Yeah, just curious.
It depends on the usage, of course, in the
Right.
distribution system.
Right.
Yes.
And it has to be done in the summer, on the worst conditions, when there's a maximum day demand. We will be turning off Drake and Wagner wells while we're doing that. So there's a lot of operations staff. We'll have to have great participation in this, and we'll have a person here watching the instrumentation as well. So it's going to be a joint effort between engineering and operations. And we think we will succeed. One thing that needs to happen, provided this board approves the work, we'll have to get concurrence from the state on our plan.
Good. I'm a little confused by the first sentence. The division understands groundwater from the distribution system can at times enter Alta Vista tank number 1. But groundwater from the distribution system is the phrase I'm stuck on. We have water in the distribution system. But presumably, if it's in the distribution system, it's already treated.
Yeah, it's probably poorly worded a little bit. I apologize for that, but there is a possibility. Okay, so
is this like a backflow concern, or
it's a backflow, but it's a backflow from, say, Drake and Wagner or Alta Vista.
Mhm.
There's the system is doing this. The system filling and draining. It's a possibility.
I see.
So that's why we're going to cut off all the sources to prove to them that that's not happening. And but the main possibility, the main concern is the Alta Vista well, groundwater.
And what we're demonstrating is that regardless of what happens, we're getting good contact time?
Yes,
Yes.
we are meeting the contact time requirements for the chlorine and the contact time for the surface water.
Okay. And you can't test it based on things like contaminant level because you can't put contaminant in to test your belief that it's going to be dealt with.
That's right.
Can't do a lot of tests.
And chlorine deteriorates with time, so fluoride not so much. And we have checked the chemistry of the water. We think the fluoride is the best chemical and safest.
Okay.
Rick, any questions?
No questions?
I have a question. Do we need to notify the public that we're going to be increasing the level of fluoride? I'm assuming it will not be an appreciable increase.
No.
And we'll probably be adding less fluoride in this water than people get in fluoridated water in other communities.
Right, but this is not a contaminant. We're not introducing a contaminant to the system. It's
Okay. Good.
So I'd like to move, I'd like to we authorize the general manager to direct the district's water engineer to conduct the tracer study at Alta Vista tank number 1.
Second?
Second it.
Second by Rick. Roll call vote, please.
Director Boyd?
Aye.
Director Marshall?
Aye.
Director Slater-Carter?
Yes.
Director Loman?
Yes.
Good. Moving right along. This one is the receipt of the customer confidence report.
Yeah, thank you. So this is also something that we do every year. We're required to produce a customer confidence report. It's essentially a summary of our testing results. I want to point out that we test for many things in the water, for some daily, looking at certain contaminants, making sure that nothing is in the water on a daily basis. Others are looked on a monthly basis, semi-annually, annually, etc., etc. So this is a summary of our water quality. Since we just talked about this, I want to point out that we actually never seen water quality issues that are related to, for example, the CT time, right? So that's why we're saying this doesn't make any sense. There is no issue when it comes to the chlorination in the system. I also want to point out that our surface water is so pristine that we have never seen any chlorination disinfection byproduct issues. So our surface water is of high quality. Of course, our groundwater is exceptional by now. So we have really good water quality. So this is essentially announcing that this 2018 customer confidence report now has been published, is up on our website. It's always a little confusing that we're now putting up to 2018, but of course, you know, this is being looked in calendar years. So the state requires that this is posted by July 1. So 6 months after the end of the calendar year. So they're allowing for 6 months of preparation of the customer confidence report. And you might see this now throughout the news. East Bay Mud and all others are coming out with their customer confidence reports. So are we. This is for board information only.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the audience? Hearing none. from the board?
I love good water.
I do want to comment that if you're on your own well, this report has nothing to do with your water. And if you are in the urban area, you can connect if you want to, for a certain amount of money, of course.
And you can also get assistance from us for water testing. If you have concerns about your well, we have a program that allows us to talk to you and actually help you take advantage of the district's prices with our lab, establish connections with the lab, etc., etc. So if anyone has issues with their wells or is suspected or wants to know what's in it, please contact us.
Well, and this is for wells in the urban area and outside as
Yes.
well, any well in the
For
district.
anyone in the district.
I will comment that one year I had some fellow come out and he drove into my driveway and said, "Do you want a well?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "No, I'd be willing to test your water." And I said, "Sure, why not?" And he started telling me all this nonsense, and I was not nice when I asked him to leave. He was trying to scare me, and so I'm mentioning this to people in case this happens to you. Come down to the district, contact us, and we will help you get a legitimate water test. Not that the others are illegitimate, but they might not be as well informed as ours are. So thank you very much. Moving right along to review and possible action concerning nomination of representative for Aqua Region 5 Board.
Thanks, Catherine. So there is an open position for the 2021 term in Aqua Region 5. And Director Lohman has already indicated his interest for a prior position that opened up. And he would
Do it again.
would like to do it again. And we are asked to support to adopt a resolution of support for Rick to run for this open position.
Do we have a motion?
If nominated, I will run, and if elected, I will serve.
Second.
Okay. Do I see any comments from the public? No?
Can I vote on this?
Yes.
I can not vote.
No, I think you should. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Director Boyd?
Aye.
Director Marshall?
Aye.
Director Slater Carter?
Aye.
Director Loman?
Yes.
Good. Moving on to number 5, review and possible action concerning designation of Director Marshall as Sewer Authority Mid-Coast Side alternate representative for MWSD.
Yeah, so Director Marshall is the only director that isn't an alternate for Sewer Authority Mid-Coast Side yet. The next meeting, nobody can attend. We have one representative that can attend. I think Catherine, you can, or
No, I'm
Rick can.
On there.
I'm out of
Which date
town.
was that?
The 24th?
The 20, it's right here, the 24th.
Oh, it's a Monday, right, it's the
Monday, next
24th.
Monday. And so the suggestion is to designate Director Marshall as SAM alternate so that he can sit in at the next SAM meeting or any other meeting that we need someone to sit in.
I see no
Just to be
discussion.
precise, so the prior manager has departed?
Yep.
Okay.
She
And I'm all in
is,
favor of that.
she is out of area.
Out of here.
Sorry to hear that, but given that opens up possibility. So.
It does.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Rick? Scott? All those in, let's do a roll call.
Okay. Director Boyd?
Aye.
Director Marshall?
Aye.
Director Slater Carter?
Aye.
Director Loman?
Yes.
Say aye.
Okay, review and possible action concerning recycled water.
Yeah, thanks. So this is an agenda item that was requested by Director Lohman. And I'm just going to hand this over to you, Rick, and tell us your thoughts, please.
Yes, it's been a while since we've, got updated costs for recycle. We've been talking about looking at the Princeton pump station as one potential location. There's always been the thought that if Half Moon Bay finally does the one with SAM, that it's pretty much hard to pump any of that water north. So we might need our own recycled water station here. So I would like to get an update of the current costs and possibly look at RO, because you know, if we have excessive water, we'd like to either put it in the ground, put it in the streams, do like that. So I would like to get just a current update of the costs of what that would do. We can then possibly look at bringing the bid up to the 25% design level, where we can look for grants and things like that also. So my hope would be that we could, I know we've done several studies in the past, and it wouldn't be too expensive, I hope, to update it to an RO level and just see where we are on that. And then I don't know if we want to ask at the same time to take it to the 25% design level.
Let's hear back from our consultants on
To
this
see what our options are. Be fine.
and see what our options are, because certainly at SAM we were talking, I've been thinking that a recycled water project with the Princeton pump station that is in such disastrous shape, that might be, with the package treatment plants and so on, that would be worth looking at for both Granada and Montara and SAM. Actually, it would be nice if SAM were to run it. Why don't you and I work with staff on this?
Okay, just one more quick comment. In all of our discussions with CCWD, SAM, Half Moon Bay, etc., there was always, I believe, a memo of understanding that as soon as the original plan got launched to feed the golf course and some of the farmers, that we would immediately embark on a phase 2 plan for the north. I don't have a lot of strong feelings that would ever occur.
Well, I think
So I'd like to get the cost running to then see if SAM could pick it up, which would be the best thing. So it would be push it to the south, push it to the north.
This is timely. I was
So that
just
would be
talking to a friend about pot agriculture, and in 2020 the big growers are going to be moving in, the Cargills and the who I don't know who else will be in the big ag concerns, and the biggest concern for the state of California is water. And I know Half Moon Bay was thinking about water from SAM, but there's also the potential for, to be real honest, to have warehouses, small boutique warehouses showing up, for instance, in Princeton or maybe in agricultural areas in Montara. So I think it would be worthwhile. But why don't you and I just work with staff on this?
Can we move
Is that okay
forward
with
on-
everyone? Good. Okay. Review and possible direction concerning direction for Sewer Authority Mid-Coast Side representatives in regard to upcoming Half Moon Bay collections contract.
Yeah, thanks. So the City of Half Moon Bay in 2018 engaged in a 1-year contract with SAM. That was for a portion of their sewer collection services. And that agreement expires on June 30, and the city asked SAM to extend the contract for an additional term. And Director Slater-Carter requested an agenda item at the last meeting to discuss and possibly direct the SAM representatives for the upcoming meeting and the discussion that probably is going to happen there about the contract renewal.
Yes.
I'm open to suggestions.
Oh, good.
I'm upset that they're doing this piecemeal 1-year contracts. It created chaos this year. It'll create chaos next year. I would like to press them for multi-year contracts at a minimum. I mean, how much time we've spent delaying budgets, trampling budgets, starting over again, arguing. You know, if this gonna happen every year and they're gonna sort of hold us hostage on the budgets, I'd like to press them to do a multi-year contract if possible.
No, I think that they're holding the SAM staff hostage as well. And we've got people who, young people who need a level of security for their jobs. So I think that's a good thing to do.
All the agencies talk about difficulties in holding employees, hiring new employees. And if you don't have stability, it's not going to help on any of that. But if you can see 3- and 5-year contracts into the future, you can see a little more stability, and that might help us keep and hire people.
Desperately needed. Any more comments?
Yeah, I think so. One comment.
Greg Diegas.
Just a quick comment. Greg Diegas, Montara. I agree with Rick, and I'm just wondering if you can phrase it as a fiduciary responsibility that the board has, and responsible fiduciary management wouldn't leave these uncertainties and variabilities, dangling, because it's putting financial risk on the other member agencies.
Absolutely.
To me, it's irresponsible financially, and I think that point should be brought up.
Thank you. I think that's a good comment.
I'd like to weigh in and amplify that point. Well said, thank you. And Rick referenced a lot of arguing. The arguing has been Montara and Granada saying we need to get the work done, and Wimbay finding excuse after excuse to delay and sow seeds of confusion, coming back with, we're going to pull out, we're only going to pull out a little bit, we're going to pull out all the way, no, we're coming back half in.
And do it over the hill.
Wait a minute, could you use some other language?
I don't know what you're thinking about. It has been a source of tremendous chaos and grief, and frankly, it's time that it end.
And cost. It's been hugely expensive to everyone.
I somehow thought I was going to make that point, but
It makes me so mad.
well, we've been patient. We've been working hard to urge and persuade. It hasn't been about fighting per se. It's been about trying to get the work done. We have a job. It's really very clear what Sam's job is, and by and large, it's about scaring up just enough money to do the job just well enough that it gets done, that we keep the beaches clean and the people safe, and we don't spend any more than we need to, but we get that job done, and the regulators should look at it and go, yep, you guys are doing a good job. That's the job, and getting that job done has been made extraordinarily hard by one partner. And so, to Rick's comment, strongly support this.
Good. Direction given, and you will be there, Eric?
I will.
Okay, moving right along then to review and possible action concerning MWSD collections contract with Sewer Authority Midcoast side.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, so this item was requested by Director Marshall to be on the agenda. We brought a report to the last board meeting. So in short, we were directed to negotiate this, a new collections contract over the coming year with the Sewer Authority Midcoast side. So we asked the sewer engineer to review the scope of services. We want to get the understanding of what services do we really want. And we also asked legal counsel to look at the aspects of the agreement. So we want to understand what we want in the agreement from, the legal aspect, really. We have an existing agreement that's dated 1988. And so we have also some changes that in the recent months, really, and that is now that Sam is actually the city actually approached the sewer authority mid-coast side with the idea that they're going to extend the contract. That the original idea was to leave the sewer authority mid-coast side for collection services entirely. So that seems to have changed very clearly. So the city is asking to continue that contract. It looks like that will be a longer-term solution for the city. And we've also seen now the departure of General Manager Marshall. I want to say that I had a chance to talk to the acting manager yesterday about this topic, and I think there's a clear openness to work through this in the coming months from the sewer authority mid-coast side, and so we bounced around some ideas on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to see if we can keep getting a status on this until it's done. I'd like to also see progress along the way. Little disappointed that it took 2 months to get started on this. I kind of think I know what was the reason behind it. I've already talked to the acting general manager, and he let me know that you'd had the discussion. So I'd like it to continue forward, and then also ideally get a draft done within the next month or so.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna what I'm gonna need is I'm gonna need input from legal counsel, and so I'm gonna push for that in the coming months, and see that we're moving this a little along.
Do we have a plan for our thoughts on, since we're on the prior agenda item asking Half Moon Bay to come up with longer-term contracts, what is our goal or thoughts on
I think
for the contract, or do we have that?
My opinion on this is I've stated to Clemens, and I'm going to say it again, is while there is concern about the overall participation in the other agencies, the longer term they can go, the steadiness of the costs will come about. I also believe that it's also a contract. It's a contract with an outside service, and while you can interact with them because it's SAM, it's still going to be a budget that's going to be set in front of us. So it's more about services, what services we want, and then what can SAM do with that. And overall, I think we should be pushing for across the board 5 years for all three agencies. What it does is it steadies out kind of our expectations. It does set the right tone with the staff there, but also I think it also does a couple other things. It shows that we can maintain the risk within SAM and share it across all three agencies. The problem I have with Half Moon Bay is they're doing about only half with SAM. And we've shown through the initial studies that you've done, Clemens, is that it takes, no matter who does the service, it's going to take the other agencies to make this work, right? And so with that, my whole struggle with this has been Montara taking this on is not the best idea for Montara because we take on all the risk. And no matter how much you can show me in dollars that it looks like it's a cheaper expense to us, it's actually a greater risk. And I can tell you when it comes to investments and all that, I'm not going to go after the greater risk if I don't see the reward that comes with it. And I think that's what people don't see. They just see the bottom line. And so when we get back to this, I think that's the type of communication I want to make at SAM, and let not only the staff know this, but also let Half Moon Bay and El Granada recognize the fact that this is a benefit to all of them, and the risk gets shared there. Otherwise, it becomes, it just doesn't make any sense otherwise. And I get the politics and all of that, but when you get down to dollars and cents and the risk that comes away with that, there's a reason why Sam's there. There's a reason why Sam's providing that service, is so that we can share those costs, but also share those risks.
Sure. My hope was that we could use phrases like that on the prior agenda item when if we tell half the day we're currently negotiating for 5-year contracts.
Yep. Yeah, I
I'd like to
completely
be
agree.
able to say that.
Yeah, I think we
So
should.
we could.
And I think we should be able to show that, look, we're trying to reflect that this is we're doing more than just for Montara. We're doing this for the entire coast side, and there's more to it than just the dollar amount that we see in the budget.
So I just want to share with you that I'm fully agreeing that the collection services providing collection services on the coast side makes sense. In my view, really only if all 3 agencies participate, and that is really a goal that we've had all along throughout, through whatever happened. And the disappointment that the city is splitting up is such that it clearly increases cost for the other agencies, right? So that is definitely something that I think should actually be also considered in these negotiations, that we look at finding solutions that the city can also join in and join in a larger percentage in, so that we're getting to a unified collection service provision on the coast side. I am not so sure about the 5 years. We now have a repetitive contract that's in existence since '88. I understand the year '88 is something that scares people, but the longer the term, the better for all involved. So I'd actually want to see this at much longer than 5 years.
Well, I
so
think-
if we go 10 years, or if we go following a model that we have right now.
I thought when I read the JPA, it was in perpetuity, right? So this whole notion of, well, we're going to kind of slowly back away from this thing, it wasn't really contemplated. And the manner in which they went about it isn't the manner in which the JPA described. I want to remind everybody that the reason that we started talking about this had primarily to do with risk management. If the city's actions so thoroughly destabilized Sam's ability to do collections efficiently, then we needed to consider what are we going to do if that somehow breaks apart. And so part of it, a good part of it, was about understanding what are our options. If we can get everybody back to the table, that has always been Plan 1. And we've reiterated that at every turn. Plan 1 is keep the band together. If the band is going to break up, then we've got to think about what's best for Montara. But it's interesting that what's best for Montara comes back to how can we work together as a COSI.
Well, unfortunately, and this is my concern about us having a separate agreement to do collections or any other kind of work for Half Moon Bay, is that we had an agreement that we were going to be working on, and we had money in the budget that we were going to be working towards modifying the JPA. We had a wonderful strategic plan in which we all stood around and held hands and sang Kumbaya and had plans for the future, and I believe it was 2 weeks later we got hit with a lawsuit. So I don't want to put this district at risk with somebody, with a city, I quote partner. I would not take on a partner who had a history of suing people, particularly its other partners. That's one of the biggest risks there is. And it leaves, and us having our own collections service for other agencies leaves ultimately the people of Montara, the smallest of all of the agencies, holding the biggest amount of risk. So I'd like to see this moving forward. It is particularly prickly for me right now with this lawsuit going on. I just I will rephrase it, but I have learned the hard way, once somebody sues you, you never trust them again. It's a cultural behavior and solution, and I think we need to be working towards making SAM a strong and very viable agency right now. And maybe that will help us get through this lawsuit, and maybe in 10 years we can show some trust, but I won't be here. But I may be in the audience with Lou, so.
So if I can make a comment on the 5 years,
You need to do that.
the challenge I think we have here is that if we go after, say, a 10-year, it's not that I don't agree with that, but that means 10 years for everybody. It has to be a conjunction, consensus with everyone, all three, because if you don't, then what ends up happening is let's say we go to a 10-year and Half Moon Bay stays to the 1 year. Well, what do you think is going to happen? We've either got to have some sort of legal way of getting out of that. If all of a sudden Half Moon Bay walks away, right? So I think that's the challenge. So in my mind, it's about negotiating and moving forward, and that's why I say 5, is if we can move them forward with 5 as well, as you were saying, Rick, then it makes it a little easier to then maybe talk about a longer term. The current contract we have is what is it? How do you say that?
Perpetuity.
In perpetuity, thank you. Which means that you can get out of it at any time. It's really a year.
It's 90-day notice.
That's not what in perpetuity means.
Well, what I mean-
There's an option that you can exercise, but it's until things change, this is what we intend to do going forward.
But that's my point, is you have a way to get out of it. You have a 90-day way of getting out of it. If you don't do
Which
that with
is
a
short
10
term.
Exactly.
Which has a much brighter line on what it means than the weaselly business about we're out, we're in, whatever. Right? It's activating that clause would have given us a more clear and certain way to cope with the request to come back in.
Yep.
Completely agree.
Yep. Okay. Sounds like we're done with this. Review and possible action concerning cancellation of next regularly scheduled meeting of 4th of July and rescheduling the meeting for July 2nd. I think this could be a quick discussion.
Yeah, this is the announcement to the public. The board and staff already knows. We, of course, won't hold a meeting on July 4, thankfully. And we're scheduling a special meeting in lieu of the July 4 meeting for July 2nd. So we'll meet Tuesday, week after next.
July 2nd. Okay, moving into reports, Sewer Authority Mid-Coast side. Other than sadly saying adios and best of luck to General
Boxes
Manager.
of Kleenex all over the entire.
Yeah, to General Manager Marshall. It was actually a pretty low-key agenda, and it was just routine business.
They did the non-domestic water source thing, and then they did extend the legal services and the consulting services.
Yeah,
So those were two good things.
That's the good news, is that the legal services with Bold, Paulisner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson have been extended through December 31, and it was a unanimous vote.
Very good news.
Moving on to Midcoast Community Council, Slater Carter, not a whole lot going on there. I will say, however, that a notice was made to the Midcoast Council by the design review at the county in the planning department that they are examining and possibly amending the design review ordinance. They are looking for members of the public to volunteer on this committee, I believe, or at least to sit in and comment. It's a very, very important thing, and so people should contact Dennis. What's Dennis's last name?
At the county.
Anyway, Dennis,
Under design review, you can
who's
see.
in charge of design review at the county.
I'm
CSDA report.
going to try to volunteer for that.
Yeah.
We've had no meetings since the last meeting, so
Okay, LAFCO,
again, no meetings are coming.
attorney's report,
Nothing to report.
director's reports, general manager's report.
Nothing.
There is a report attached to the agenda. Okay, future agendas. I'd like to see a list of our future agendas. I'm not asking necessarily for potential dates, but if we could just, for the public keep and the board members, keep a list. And if it could just get attached to the back of the agenda, it would help us.
Tell me what's on the list, folks.
It should be in the minutes.
That's fine.
Oh, I mean,
If we have more, right?
I mean,
Well, so,
I understand that there was a request for the collections contract.
Correct.
yes,
Can I say that we do this once per month? Or you want to do this like every other week?
Even if it's just saying, hey, this is where we're at, it doesn't have to be, look, Clemens, I don't want it to be elaborate. It's to tell us kind of how the status is going.
let's just put it on the last meeting of the month because our first meeting has so much business as a rule.
Okay.
Okay, let's recess and move into closed session. Thank you.
Thank you all.